The police officer slammed the cell door shut and locked it. Euphigenia looked around her cold, damp cell, her arms wrapped around herself, sat on the bed and started to cry. Meanwhile, back at Brampton, word had reached the staff that Euphigenia had been arrested. Winshaft had called a staff meeting in the kitchen. "Is it true?" said Mel. "Has her ladyship been arrested?" "I have received word that Mr. Tonkin is dead, and that somehow her ladyship was involved," replied Winshaft. The staff started muttering amongst themselves. Martha, the maid, spoke. "If she did it, she'll be hanged, and we'll all be out of jobs. And what about poor little Henry? He'll be an orphan." And with that she began to cry. "That's enough, Martha. We'll have no talk like that," said Winshaft. "She's right, though, ain't she?" said a gruff voice from the corner of the room. Everyone turned to see Bert in the door holding some freshly shot pheasants. He dropped them on the kitchen table. "Ain't you got jobs to be doing?" he said, and walked back out. Nell limped after him into the garden. "Bert, wait," she said. "What is it, Nell?" "What's the matter with you? Poor Miss Fidgey's in trouble." "And whose fault's that?" he said bluntly. "Bert, this ain't like you." "Oh, come off it, Nell. She swans off to another rich man, and then what happens? She don't like him, so she kills him." "You don't know what really happened. None of us do," said Nell. "Oh, no, and Martha's right. Little Henry's going to be an orphan. Who's going to look after him?" "You're right," said Nell. "I didn't like the Viscount, but at least if he was alive he would have had a father." Bert scratched his head uncomfortably. "Well, what if he does have a father?" Nell looked at him. "What are you saying, Bert?" "Oh, listen, between you and I, Miss Fidgey and I, well, we lay together, not long before the Lord died." Nell shook her head with disbelief. "Oh, Bert, you mean to tell me that Henry could be your son?" "I don't know, do I? Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. As soon as I can, I'm leaving here. I'm going back to Cornwall. Get work there. Forget I ever got involved in this place and the bloody people." And with that he stormed off. Nell looked at him as he went, sighed, and headed back into the kitchen. As she did, a dark figure hidden behind a birch tree watched. It was Dorothea. She had managed to escape from the asylum disguised as a washerwoman. She had heard the entire conversation. Now a wry but sinister smile marked her face. In her prison cell, Euphigenia lay on her bed. Her eyes stung from the tears she had shed. The cell door unlocked, and a police officer walked in. "You've got a visitor," he said bluntly, moving aside. A tall, dark-haired woman stepped into the cell. Euphigenia's eyes lit up. It was Caroline. "Hello, Fidgey," she said in a calm voice. Euphigenia sat up. "Caroline," she said, amazed. "Oh, my poor darling. How are you?" Caroline said as she sat next to her on the bed. "Oh, Caroline, this is awful. I killed him, but I didn't mean to. He was attacking me," said Euphigenia. Caroline took her hand. "I know. All right. You don't have to explain. When I heard what happened, I came straight from Paris." "They're going to hang me, aren't they? And Henry will be an orphan." "No, that's not going to happen," said Caroline. "Whilst I have been away, word had reached me that you had corresponded with Tonking for financial assistance for the school. I knew of him and his reputation, a greedy man who had taken advantage of many a poor young girl." Euphigenia stared at her. "Really?" "Oh, yes. I'm afraid you weren't the first." "Gosh," replied Fidgey. "What an awful man." "My only regret is I should have intervened sooner," Caroline said. "You defended yourself against a brute of a man, and he paid the price for his actions. What happened wasn't your doing, it was divine retribution." Euphigenia stood and looked out of the bars of her cell. "But a judge won't see it like that, will they?" Caroline smiled. "Well, lucky for you, I have some sway with the chief constable here. He's actually a great admirer of what you're trying to do, and with some gentle persuasion, I've convinced him to drop all the charges against you." "What?" said Fidgey. "I don't know what to say. How can I thank you?" "You don't have to thank me, Fidgey. You're a good-hearted person, and you don't deserve any of this. You're free to go." Euphigenia ran over and hugged Caroline tightly. "Oh, thank you." Caroline took her by the arms and looked at her in the face. "It's quite all right, but there's something else you should know. Dorothea has escaped from the asylum. What? Exclaimed Fidgy. She'll go for Brampton. Henry, I have to get there immediately. My carriage is waiting outside, said Caroline. Let's go. Bert packed a bag with the few possessions he owned and walked into the sunshine. As he did, there was Dorothea rocking the baby carriage gently with Henry inside. He sleeps so peacefully, she said. Your ladyship, what are you doing here? It's a shame. Once they hang his mother, he'll be an orphan. I couldn't look after him because they think I'm mad. If only he had his father, but he's gone too. And she began to dab her eyes as though she was upset. Don't cry, ma'am. I, I think Bert might be my son. Really? She feigned. Then he belongs with you. She looked down at his bag. Are you going somewhere, Bert? Yeah, I'm going to Cornwall, ma'am. There's no point staying here anymore. Oh, you're quite right. Get far away from here as you can. Take Henry. Take him to Cornwall and be the father you always wanted to be. Bert stared at the little boy sleeping. I, I can't. I. Yes, you can. You have no choice. How could you live with yourself knowing your son was raised in an orphanage? She could see the seeds sowing behind his eyes. God damn it. You're right. I can't let that happen. She picked the baby up and placed him in Bert's arms. My son, he said as he cradled him. Now go, said Dorothea. He picked up his bag and with Henry set off for Cornwall. Watching him as he left, Dorothea chuckled to herself. Now Brampton is finally mine again.